Two videos to go, and we are now on to the ULM Warhawks. Hey, they made a bowl game a couple of seasons ago, but it overall just hasn't gone super well mainly throughout program history for the ULM Warhawks at the FBS level. However, you got a new head coach this season. Bryant Vincent comes over from New Mexico, where he was the offensive coordinator, and is looking to take this program and start climbing the ranks of the Sun Belt Conference. Is this still going to be one of the worst teams in the conference in a rebuilding year, or can Bryant Vincent elevate the ULM Warhawks to be a surprise team out of the Sun Belt this upcoming season? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. We got two videos left. Welcome back to prediction season. Hey, again, prediction season almost done. Today is the final day, and just thank you so much for watching prediction season, for watching this video, and helping to support the channel. If you want to continue to support the channel, well, firstly, I've got to let you know, if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, you're going to want to hear what I have to say during the college football season, which means you got to hit the subscribe button. You got to ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. Just thank you so much for watching my videos throughout prediction season and for interacting with the channel in any way you can, and continue to do so as we get into the start of the college football season. You can like, you can comment, you can share, and anything else you do helps support this channel and does mean a lot to me. And with all that out of the way, guys, let's dive on into talking about Bryant Vincent's new club with the ULM Warhawks. We'll take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the team's defense, and at the end of the video, we will go through the ULM football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. A couple more things I do want to say before we do get started, because I got to let you know, right over here are the stats the team put up, either offensively or defensively from last season. And of course, for your viewing pleasure, are right down there below the team's logo. Went ahead, put the team's coaching staff for you. Let's waste no more time. Let's dive on in. Let's talk about the ULM Warhawks here in 2024. After a quick water break, it's important to stay hydrated. Okay, let's talk about the quarterback room for ULM. Oh, first of all, honestly, again, just not a great offense last year. And please let me know who the primary offensive coordinator is down below. I would assume that since one wasn't listed on their official athletics website, it'd be Bryant Vincent calling plays. But again, if that just is not the case, please let me know if anything is different. But for Bryant Vincent, this is the offensive squad he's going to be working with this year. It just wasn't a great, fantastic offense last year, and it is going to be losing a ton of very important talent off of last year's team. Because when you take a look at the quarterback position, well, your primary quarterback from a season ago, in Jaya Wright, well, he has since graduated. No more eligibility left for him. 1,246 yards on around 200 pass attempts, 10 touchdowns, 8 picks. Obviously, you could have asked for better, had around 52% completion percentage. You are going to be losing him and your primary backup from last season as well in Blake Murphy. 721 yards on around 100 pass attempts. In fact, I think, yes, exactly 100 less pass attempts than what Jaya Wright had last season. 4 touchdowns and 5 picks. Again, overall, not great. He sat around 51% completion percentage. So you're going to be looking for quarterback play to improve this season. While you get Hunter Herring back, through 30 passes, completed 16 of them, 121 yards, 1 touchdowns, no picks. I don't believe he's going to end up being your starter this season, although he very well is in that conversation to be the starting quarterback. But it's a 3-man race right now. The guy that I think is going to win it, and, well, one of the best names in college football, General Booty, is coming over from Oklahoma, where he didn't see the field with the Sooners last year, but is a fairly highly recruited player, if my knowledge is correct. But overall, I think he's going to provide some good things. And again, kind of a big mystery what you're going to get with the quarterback position, just because you didn't see him play with the Oklahoma Sooners last season. We'll see how General Booty fares. I think he's going to wind up being that starting quarterback. And Reese Mooney is transferring over from North Texas. He very well could end up being that primary backup, but it's between him and Herring for the backup role, and I think Booty's going to end up getting that starting job for you. Running back room, let's talk about it. Isaiah Woolard is gone and off due to graduation. 447 yards and a touchdown on 98 carries last season. You do return your leading rusher, though. That's the only notable loss out of the running back room. Hunter Smith is coming back. 507 yards and 3 touchdowns for him last season. Bennett Galloway and Charlie Norman will be some other returners as well, as you bring a guy coming in here through the transfer portal, as Taven Curry is coming over from UAB, a program that Bryant Vincent has some pretty good ties to. I believe was a former head coach over there. He was an interim head coach, so offensive coordinator to an interim head coach in 2022. And yeah, so definitely could see a lot of UAB guys come over here, and I believe you will. That is the first one. We'll see if any others. Again, I can't think of any right now off the top of my head. But you do get Taven Curry back into this running back room. That should be pretty solid for you here in 2024, much like it was for you last season. Wide receiver room, though, I mean, you're just losing a ton of talent here. Leading receiver Tyrone Howell has graduated and I think even joined the CFL, if my knowledge is correct. 590 yards on 49 catches and 7 touchdowns. Really good and not talked about enough wide receiver just because he plays here at ULM. Really good player that, again, I think is playing professional football in some aspect this upcoming season. And all Red Luke is going to be graduating as well. 16 catches, 184 yards, and a touchdown last season. You're going to be losing a couple more guys here that are gone to the transfer portal. Darian Wiley, second leading receiver, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, is gone. Bugs Mortimer, your third leading receiver, and Nine Davis, who was your fourth leading receiver, gone as well. You also are going to be losing Nolan Quinlan, who was your fifth leading receiver. He is gone and off due to graduation. So again, much like we just previewed with the Nevada Wolfpack here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top leading receivers are all gone off of last year's team. So, okay, who's going to be stepping into that role this season? Well, Parker Hill, Justin Kimber, Tristan Wiley, as well as a couple other names will be returning to this wide receiver room, but you are getting a ton of talent in through the transfer portal. Tyler Griffin is coming in, Jake Godfrey is coming in, and Artist Cole is in here as well. And when you take a look at where all those guys are from, I don't want to get it wrong here off the top of my head. Tyler Griffin coming over from UCF. Godfrey is coming over from that of New Mexico, and then Artist Cole is over from the Fresno State Bulldogs. They all could play some pretty high significant impact minutes here for the ULM Warhawk offense in 2024. Tight end room, well, Rylan Green is going to be coming back, as well as Quad Harrison, and there's probably your 2 main tight ends for the Warhawks this season. Now on the offensive line, ton of names are going to be gone through the transfer portal. All these guys at least had some starts last season. Zarian McGill, Stacey Wilkins, Keydrell Lewis, and Talek Lockett are all off and gone due to the transfer portal. So here's who you have coming back in the offensive line room. John Curtis Goodman Jr., yes, full name there. Elijah Fisher, Sam Carson, and Jay Mickle return, while all these guys enter through the transfer portal. Sam Talesa, Reese Steele, Devin Smith, and Carter Miller. And who knows? You could see some of those portal additions slide into the starting group on the offensive line. I think you're probably going to see at least 1, maybe 2 of them. 2 of those transfers. You could potentially see 3, but those combination of the 8 guys right there should be your starting offensive line in 2024. And now we dive on into talking about what the ULM offense looks like here in 2024. Guys, the quarterback play has got to get better. And again, who knows what you're going to get out of General Booty. Reese Mooney played a little bit at North Texas last year. Hunter Herring played a little bit with this Warhawk program last season. Again, I think Booty's going to end up getting that starting role. I think he's the highest upside guy that is in this room. He also has the most unknown, so you got to be a little bit careful with that. But the rush game should still be solid. You got some solid talent coming into the wide receiver room, but the offensive line as well has got to turn it around, and the offensive line has got to get better this season. Also, because when you take a look at the offensive line, well, they allowed 35 sacks last season, which isn't as bad as some of the other teams we have previewed here this summer, but you are looking for improvement on the offensive line and a lot of different facets. Let's take a look now at the ULM defense, which, again, just was not great last season. 275 passing yards allowed per game, not a good number. 175-ish, give or take, or again, more like 172 rush yards per game allowed. Yeesh. And I'm pretty sure this is the worst third down defense in the country from last season. Allowed too many points, didn't get off the field, and just overall struggled last season. Well, let's take a look at some of the talent that is leaving the defensive line. Well, the defensive side, but starting out with the defensive line for the Warhawks, and a couple of really big, key, important pieces on the defensive front, and 2 top 5 tacklers on the defensive line. Yes, 2 top 5 tacklers. Aiden Huntington is going to be gone, 62 tackles, and led the defense with 8.5 sacks. You also are going to be losing Kennard Snyder, who had 60 tackles, 5.5 sacks last year. By far your top 2 sack leaders from last season, and that's 14 sacks of the 24 sacks that ULM generated last year. Gone and off through the transfer portal, and you are going to be losing Joseph Backhole. That he will be leaving this defense as well. 27 tackles, no sacks for him, but still a big impact on this defensive line. So, hey, a lot of really good talent leaving this defensive front. which is going to make it a little interesting here to see how some of these portal additions on the defensive line fit in. I'll mention them first since I segued into it. Jaden Hamlin, Clifton Mosey Jr., and Billy Pullen are all names that enter through the transfer portal. Most of the guys on the defensive side that enter through the portal, I believe, are JUCO guys. If they come from elsewhere, I will tell you. But Jalen Ware, Dylan Howell, Earl Barquette, and James Smith are all going to be returners to this defensive line room here in 2024. Linebacker room, let's talk about it. Again, a lot of names leave this linebacker room. Through the transfer portal, you are going to be losing Max Harris, leading tackler, tied with Michael Batten last year. Batten also has gone off through the portal. Each of them was 79 tackles. Harris had 2 pass defended, 1 interception, and Batten had half a sack last season. Norman Massey, also a big part to this linebacking side, 32 tackles, 1 sack. He has gone off through the portal as well. And a ton more guys due to graduation. Jatarius Evans, Tristan Driggers, and Austin Goffney are all going to be names that leave here through the not through the transfer portal, due to graduation. So when you talk about the linebacker room, well, hey, you still do get a big notable returner here, and that is a guy by the name of Carl Glass Jr. 59 tackles, sack and a half last year. That's a pretty big get back for this defense. Trevor Randall and Markeegan Gray are also names that return, when Tyrese Hopkins and J.D. Stewart, and I believe both community college JUCO transfers, coming over here in the linebacker room to fill in some holes. Defensive back room, you don't lose a ton of names, but you do lose a ton of quality out of this defensive back room. Lou Tillery, one of the better defensive backs on this team last season, 30 tackles, 3 pass defended, had 1 interception last season. You're going to be losing him out of the cornerback room. A.J. Watts has gone out of the safety room, 6 passes defended, which led the team, 2 interceptions, which was second on the team. Second behind Jatarius Evans, who I don't believe I mentioned, had 3 interceptions to go along with a pick 6 for this defense last season. But again, you lose A.J. Watts. You also do lose Simeon Hines. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly. He had 35 tackles with a pass defended out of the safety room last season. So again, not a whole lot of quantity, but a lot of quality leaving the defensive back room. So who returns here? Well, Carlin Vidgers, David Godsey, and Jiren Esther will return to the cornerback room, while Charles Thomas and Christopher Robinson are some names that come in through the portal. Rashad Wunzheim, hopefully I'm saying that name correctly, returns to the defense in the safety room, and a lot of transfers enter here into the defensive backfield as well. You are going to be getting Dontavius Burrows, who is a technical linebacker transfer. I think they're going to sort of have him play. I'll figure out the position here in a second. I think they're going to have him sort of play that spur position this year, so kind of a cross between a linebacker and safety, kind of needing to do both things. So I've listed him here as a safety. Carl Fontroy, there's the other UAB transfer, and then Wydett Williams Jr. is coming over here through the transfer portal as well. All right, kicking room. Let's talk about it, because kickers are people too, and you know I got to show them some love. Derek McCormick is gone and off through the portal, primary plays kicker for you last year, and Braxton Guilbeau, however you say that last name. Again, I apologize for mispronunciations. He did both punting and kicking last year, kicked a couple field goals for this team. He has gone and off through the portal as well. So you do return Luke Stagg, probably will be that primary plays kicker for you this year. And Mackenzie Ryan, I believe, is an Australian that will be coming in through the portal to do some punting duties. And when I say portal, I use that very loosely, because I do believe he's coming over from Australia, where he was playing in some sort of league there. Whether that's an Australian football league, an American football league, I'm not sure. But he is coming in to be the punter for ULM this season. So when you take a look at what this defense holds here in 2024, again, going to be really difficult to figure out what this defense is capable of. You got to get a lot of these transfers settled in. You lose a lot of your top talent from last season. It just probably isn't going to be a smooth sledding year in Brian Vincent's first college football season as the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, which leads me, guys, to take a look here now at the schedule for the Warhawks in 2024. Any game at home is going to be underlined. Well, any game on the road is in italics or that slanted text. Any game in green is going to be a game that I think the Warhawks are going to win fairly easily. Any game in yellow, a close competitive one, but I still see ULM being able to win. And any game in red is a loss. Hey, let's dive on in to the Warhawk football schedule here in 2024. They start out with the game against Jackson State, again, an FCS program, widely known for having guys like Shadur Sanders and Dion and some other really, really talented players, of course, that are now all over with Dion at Colorado. Jackson State, from what I know, still a fairly solid FCS team, But overall, I do think ULM is going to be able to start the Bryant Vincent era out with a win. This is a game that's happening on a Thursday. You still got some really good solid pieces here. And ULM, while even though the talent on it may not be as great as some of the other teams on the schedule, and we'll talk a lot more about that later, I do think they're going to be able to pick up the season and start out with a win here against Jackson State. But I don't see the rest of the season going too well for them. You got this game against UAB, and how about this storyline, huh? Bryant Vincent, the old interim slash, or I should say the old offensive coordinator slash interim head coach in 2022 for the Blazers, now is taking over the Warhawk program and gets to face his former side. I mean, you really can't write a much better storyline in college football than that, but UAB and Trent Dilfer's squad, I think, is more talented than what their former head coach and Bryant Vincent has here with the ULM Warhawks. They're going to see improvements this season, even though they might not quite make a bowl game. They have the potential to. A lot of really good talent on that Blazer team. I think they're going to be able to beat the Warhawks in week 2, handing the Warhawks their first loss of the college football season. And then you got to go on the road and play the Texas Longhorns. And I mean, do we really need to talk about this one? Hey, you get your first bye week here, so you get an extra week to prepare for it. But I don't think ULM is going to pull off any kind of shocking defeat here. The Texas Longhorns, led by Quinn Ewers, are going to be one of the best college football teams in the country this season. A lot of really good talent entering through the portal, both offensively and defensively, especially if that defensive line can fill all the holes. That's going to be a really solid side there. Texas Longhorns will be beating the ULM Warhawks, as will the Troy Trojans. And again, while I don't love the Gerard Parker hire, and okay, that's kind of, harsh. It was an okay hire to me. They still got a lot of really nice talent, even though Gunnar Watson, Kamani Vidal, lots of other solid pieces are gone. Troy still got some really good pieces, and I think they'll be a competitive team out of the Sun Belt this year. They hand a loss to ULM, and we'll tell you about the rest of their schedule here after a water break, because it is important to stay hydrated. Now we dive on in. They get to come back home here after a couple weeks they're on the road, and they get to face the James Madison Dukes. James Madison lost a lot from last season as well. Much like the Troy Trojans did, James Madison did lose Jordan McLeod. They lost some really good wide receiver pieces, some really good running back pieces are gone, and pretty much every major contributor to that defense has walked and gone off either due to graduation in the NFL or is off, more likely than not, through the transfer portal, because their head coach, Curt Cignetti, he took the job with the Indiana Hoosiers. Well, James Madison's still going to be a really good team this year. They got some solid portal pieces coming in. Bob Chesney is coming over from Holy Cross, where that was one of the better FCS teams last season. And Bob Chesney, really, really good head coach, though I think is going to do some great things here with the James Madison program. That's a win for the Dukes, a loss for the Warhawks, and then you get a game to where if you're going to want to look for a win outside of the group of 5 round, or I should say outside of the FCS realm, so besides beating Jackson State here, I think this is the most likely win for the ULM Warhawks, but I don't even see them being able to pick up this win. I think this is going to be a loss for you against the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. And look, while the Golden Eagles, in my opinion, are going to see their struggles this year, I just don't think Will Hall is going to be able to quite get everything figured out as much as he wants to this season. They got a lot of good returning pieces. They're bringing in some really good talent through the transfer portal, and Southern Miss, even though the record may not show it at the end of the season, they definitely could see their improvements in a lot of ways this upcoming year. Then you get your second bye week after that one, and you have to play 6 straight games in 6 straight weeks against some really, really tough competition. It's just going to be rough sledding for the Warhawks this year, guys. That's going to be a loss to the South Alabama Jaguars. Yes, Carter Bradley is gone, and yes, Kane Womack is no longer that head coach. You still got Major Applewhite there, and I think you still got a lot of solid pieces, especially in that wide receiver room, to where I think you have some really, really good talent. Defensively, you got some pretty good names as well. And overall, I think South Alabama still going to be a pretty solid side in the Sun Belt this year. That's going to be a win for the Jaguars, a loss for the Warhawks. And I also think the Warhawks, I mean, you just take a look at the rest of the schedule. I'll just tell you right now, I don't see a win the rest of the way. And I'll tell you why here when I talk about each of these games. On the road against Marshall. Okay, the Marshall Thundering Herd. Definitely a little bit of an interesting team when you take a look at them from the surface level this year. Let's first start off with that quarterback, right? Cole Pennington. No reason to panic about him. Yes, he was dreadful last season, but I don't think he's going to be that bad this year. In fact, I think he's even going to give Marshall some solid quarterback play. You're revamping that wide receiver room, so Cole Pennington's got an entirely new group of wide receivers to throw to. You got some pretty solid defensive transfers coming in, and just overall some really good defensive players from last season that returned to this team. Marshall could be one of the better teams in the Sun Belt Conference this year. That's a loss for the Warhawks. And I have no doubt in my mind you're going to lose to the Texas State Bobcats, a team that I am superbly high on this upcoming season. They excelled expectations last year under GJ Kinney. That offense was high flying. The defense did, yes, struggle last season. But I think, the defense sees its improvements. And look, that offense is, dare I say, going to be better than it was this year than it was last year. Because while you do lose TJ Finley, hey, you are getting Jordan McLeod coming over from James Madison. And no slight to what TJ Finley did last year at all for that Bobcat program. That's an upgrade at the quarterback position when you get Jordan McLeod coming in there. They just got a really good offense. Defense improves from last year. Texas State, one of the better teams in the Sun Belt this season. On the road against Auburn, I mean, yeah, okay. Second Power 4 team on the schedule. You're going to lose this one. Auburn's a really talented team this year. They could see direction, or they should see play in the right direction under Hugh Freeze this year. Auburn's going to be a really successful side this season. You got to go on the road to play Arkansas State. They got a budding young star at quarterback, Jalen Rayner. Watch out for him. A lot of really good weapons there offensively, defensively. Yeah, they'll see their improvements this year. Overall, though, really solid side that Butch Jones has in Arkansas State. Will be able to do some pretty good things this season. And if there's ever a year for Louisiana to take a step back up to where they were under Billy Napier, it's going to be this season. They got some really nice talent. Chandler Fields is back at quarterback. Some good defensive pieces return as well. And overall, I just like what the Raging Cajuns have. The ULM Warhawks will not be able to beat their in-state rivals, and they fall to 1-11 this college football season. Again, ULM just overall has not been that great as a program at the FBS level, and maybe they can find something with Bryant Vincent here in the coming years. But I think wait till he gets his system in place, wait till he gets his guys here. And overall, it's just a really tough schedule. Even though you are in the more wide open division within the Sun Belt Conference, you got to go on the road to play Troy and South Alabama. Southern Miss, I still think is way more talented than this team, even though they do get them at home. I think it's going to be rough sledding for the Warhawks this year. I got 1-11, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And final video coming up for prediction season, the new team to the FBS fray. It's the Kennesaw State Owls. Goodbye.